Hi, this is Ruth Theresa with One Inspiring Woman, and today I'm answering a Dear Ruth Theresa question. So today I'm answering a Dear Ruth Theresa question. It's a little bit difficult, so I'm going to try to explain this the best way I can. So the question is, Dear Ruth Theresa, what does it mean to be psychic? Okay, I've never tried to put it into words or terminology, so I'm going to do that the best way I can. And I've kind of looked at some other people, kind of like, what do they say about it? How do they feel about it? Kind of like, how do you put it into words? Because it's really difficult to put into words because psychic people are just psychic people. It's one of those, it doesn't really, like, I've always been like this, so it's hard to kind of go, oh, not everybody's like this. And that's one of the things that I grew up in. I thought everybody was psychic. I thought everybody could see what I was seeing. I thought everybody could feel or sense or hear what I was hearing, feeling, or sensing. Apparently not. So a psychic is someone who is very sensitive to energy, is the basic thing. So psychics will be able to see energy, hear energy, feel energy, connect to energy, communicate with energy, because everything really is energy. So when we feel energy, we can be empathic and we can connect to someone else's sadness or happiness, and we can feel that back and forth. You can sense how an animal is feeling, or how does the energy feel in a room. Like you walk in and you're kind of like, ooh, this is really icky energy. Or you could walk in a room and go, wow, I feel like happy and joyful and grounded, and oh my gosh, this feels amazing. It could be any of those. You could also kind of go into feeling the energy of items. So you can hold energy, like somebody's watch, and kind of feel the energy in that, and kind of how did that person who owned it or wore it a lot, how did they feel about things? So that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, I feel this all the time. And even since I was a little child, I have always felt and sensed and connected to energy. Angels are energy. They're energy from our Creator. Ghosts are energy of the soul that left that body. The soul and the body separate. The body withers and dies, and the soul keeps going, and that's what a psychic is connecting to. But that's also giving you a special insight into mediumship. Mediumship is being able to connect to that energy. So kind of all of that kind of means that you're a psychic. It's one of those, they're really sensitive to kind of the energy of what's going on. And there's energy everywhere. There's not much of Mother Earth that hasn't had someone pass away on it, or a flood, or a famine, or something else, or a death of some sort. So you kind of, everywhere you go, that energy is there. And it's one of those, I did look up the first time someone recorded the word using psychic as a word was in Greece, and it was in 1855 to 1860. So that's the first time they termed or coined the terminology psychic. And what they were talking about is kind of meaning of the soul, of kind of connecting to the soul. And that's kind of a lot of what psychic energy is doing, is kind of you're connecting your soul to someone else's energy. It's just one of those things. I will tell you that not all mediums are psychic, but all psychics are mediums. It's kind of the way it goes. Being a medium is a little bit different energy, and it's only connecting from this side to the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like connecting earth energy to the spirit realm. That's kind of what you're doing in mediumship. Where psychic is more connecting to the energy of things, of energy, of kind of like, my boss was short with me today, and how does he feel about me? I can tell you energetically how he feels about you. I can feel what it feels like to walk in someone else's space and go, ooh, this needs to be cleansed out. I can see other people's jewelry on and go, ooh, there's a lot of nasty energy stuck in there. I can feel it. I can literally feel it, and I can connect to it. I can, was telling a client the other day, I was like, ooh, you wear that necklace a lot. And she goes, not all the time, but I do wear it quite often. And I was like, yeah, when you got mad at your husband 2 weeks ago, that energy's still stuck in there. And she was like, yeah. So energy is everywhere, and that's what really psychics are doing, is connecting to that energy force that kind of is around everybody. And the people that say that they're not really around it or don't really understand it usually don't use the same terminology. So I would say, oh, that's a psychic gift. Well, they might be saying, I walked into the space and I got a gut feeling that I shouldn't be there. That's a psychic ability. You're just calling it by different terminology. Or I talked to so-and-so and I felt bad afterwards. Well, you're connecting with their negative energy. And so it's one of those, we connect with this all the time. And one of the most important things out of all of this is to learn how to keep your energy clear, and to how to kind of constantly keep that negative energy away from you. So many times people get kind of fumbled up in not being able to connect to the energy on the other side, but they also don't know how to kind of like clear it out. It's like once you make that connection, people are like, oh my gosh, I finally felt connected to my guardian angel. That's great. But did you disconnect? Not always. Or I felt a ghost, or I saw a ghost for the first time, but did you disconnect from it? Yeah, a lot of times people don't, and that energy stays with them. So then they walk around and they have like a whole group of ghosts walking behind them, and that energy never goes away until you clear it out, until you physically remove the bonds or the connections with it. It's one of the most important parts of being a psychic. I teach this a lot in my classes, and almost any one of my students will be like, oh my gosh, I am a stickler for protection. I am a stickler for protection, because if you don't keep your energy protected, all you're doing is picking up negative energy everywhere you go. And that can be overwhelming, and that can be negative for you. And it's one of those, especially if you're around a lot of energy vampires or people that don't have great energy, that can be harsh. That can be really, really overwhelming. And that can also affect your physical body. So any energy that you don't release or get rid of will stay connected to your physical body. So let's pull some angel cards and get a little bit more insight into psychic and what does it mean. The first card is soulmate. So many times psychic people have soulmate connections with people, but it's almost we have a soulmate connection with everybody. We constantly are feeling energy, and so we feel that other person's love for someone else. We feel their ambition, their joy, their happiness, their sadness. We connect to everybody all the time. And so people always will tell me like, oh my gosh, I feel so connected to you. Yeah, because that's what I just did. I plugged into your energy, read your energy, and then what I ended up doing was disconnecting from it as well. And so that's an important part to understand, is to the disconnect part. This one is popping forward, support. We have support on the other side. We really, 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 really do. And oh my goodness, thank goodness that we have that connection on the other side. Our angels, our guides are all ready for our support system, and they can help us disconnect. We have to give them the intent of this is what we want to do, but it's really important that we start that energy and kind of deal with that on our own. It's really important that we learn how to connect with our angels and guides and get their insight into what's going on around us and kind of what's going on with the other people around us, so we can connect and kind of keep our energy as free and clear as possible. This one is coming up next. Children, I will tell you, I started my own kind of like psychic video series called Kids with Psychic Abilities, because so many of us, these abilities started when we were kids. Now, I'm in my 50s, but when I was a young child, there were no outlets. There were no way of like doing research like we do now. There was no internet. There was only a few books about psychic energy, and most of them didn't use the word psychic energy. I literally went on a quest in my early 20s of kind of figuring out, what am I and how do I deal with this stuff? Like, oh my gosh, I feel this. Is there anybody else who feels this along with me? And that's where I was like, I required finding someone else who did, you know what I'm saying, or understood what I was going through. And I literally went on a couple of years search. And during that time frame, I read anywhere from 3 to 5 books at a time. I was just constantly like bringing in more information. Like, I have got to figure out what I am. I've got to figure out what this means. How do I do this? How do I not do this? How do I keep my energy protected? So many times there was no one to ask questions to. There was no one to kind of like, hey, Ruth, this is how you do this. And that's the hard part. Now everybody has an insight into it, or I'm a psychic, let me teach you this. The problem is, though, is that you still have to test their energy. You still have to make sure that they're a good match for you. You have to make sure that they're the right person for you to learn from. And since there's so much information out there, you can get overwhelmed the opposite direction of like, there's so much information out there. Where do I search? Where do I look? Where do I find the information of how to do this, or how to disconnect, or how to keep my energy protected? That's the hard part. Spiritual growth. Psychics are constantly in spiritual growth. We never get out of spiritual growth. We may have periods where we're not growing near as fast, and that's okay. And then there's times that we're kind of like running at it. But we are constantly in spiritual growth. We are constantly, our abilities are always shifting, changing, or modifying. And that depends on who we're around, what we're doing, who we've connected to, who we've disconnected from, when was the last time we grounded, when was the last time we cleansed our energy. All of that goes into how fast our abilities are growing and changing. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I know that we'll be talking again soon.